One moment the sky above the desert planet was calm, a pale blue dome stretching endlessly, and the next it was filled with twisting black clouds. Lightning tore across the horizon, and sand rose into the air like waves in an angry sea. Ryan's shuttle had been caught in the middle of it, shaken like a toy until its engines failed. He managed to bring it down hard on the rocky surface, but now the vessel was little more than a broken shell. Ryan pushed open the hatch, coughing as the dry air rushed inside. The wind screamed around him, carrying dust that stung his skin and eyes. He pulled the thin mask tighter over his face and stepped outside. The shuttle tilted slightly on one side, smoke curling up from a cracked engine. He knew there was no chance of repairing it in this storm. Survival was now his first concern. The desert stretched in every direction, empty and endless. His ship's scanners had detected faint energy readings before the crash, and he decided to move toward them. If there was anything on this planet that could offer shelter, that was his only hope. Ryan walked carefully, keeping his head low against the biting wind. Each step sank slightly into the loose sand. Time seemed to stretch as the storm raged, but he pressed on. His training told him not to stop, not to give in to the exhaustion growing in his legs. Somewhere ahead, he knew, something was waiting. And then he saw it. Through the shifting wall of dust, a shape appeared tall and unmoving, rising from the desert like a mountain carved by hands. At first, he thought it was a natural rock formation. But as he came closer, he saw straight lines, smooth walls, and faint markings glowing along the surface. It was a structure. A building. Ryan felt a strange chill that had nothing to do with the storm. This planet had been listed as barren, with no known life and no signs of civilization. Yet here was proof that someone or something had once lived here. He approached slowly, his boots crunching over the stone base at the entrance. The markings glowed brighter as if reacting to his presence. For a long moment, he stood there, unsure if he should enter. And then he noticed movement. Someone was watching him. At the edge of the doorway, a figure stood. She was tall, her form slim and graceful, and her skin carried a faint shimmer in the storm's light. Her eyes caught his attention immediately, silver, shining, and filled with a strange calmness. She was not human. Ryan's heart pounded in his chest, and for a moment, he could not move. The alien woman's gaze did not waver. She studied him with a quiet intensity, as if measuring his very soul. Her expression was unreadable, not hostile, but not welcoming either. She seemed to be waiting for something. The wind roared around them, sand whipping across the stone, but in that instant, everything else faded for Ryan. The world narrowed to those silver eyes that met his own. He felt a weight behind them, a story untold, a sadness or strength he could not yet understand. And then, she moved. With a slow, deliberate motion, the woman placed her hand on the massive stone door beside her. The markings pulsed once with light, and the ancient structure responded. The door shifted, groaning as it opened inward, revealing darkness beyond. The storm's howl softened as if the chamber inside held still air untouched by the chaos outside. The woman looked back at Ryan, her eyes never leaving his. Her lips parted, and in a voice that was soft yet firm, carrying an accent unlike any he had ever heard, she whispered a single word, "Inside." Ryan froze. He had no idea how she spoke his language or if it was even his language, somehow translated. But the meaning was clear. She was inviting him in. Or perhaps commanding him. Every survival instinct screamed at him to be cautious. He was stranded on an unknown world, facing a being of unknown origin, in a structure that should not exist. But the storm behind him was unforgiving. If he stayed outside, he would not last long. He looked at the open doorway, at the strange glow coming from within, and then back at her steady gaze. For reasons he could not explain, he felt no fear of her. Instead, he felt a strange pull as if his arrival here was not an accident. Ryan took a deep breath, tightened the strap of his pack, and stepped forward. The alien woman did not move aside until he crossed the threshold. Then, silently, she followed, and the heavy stone door closed behind them, sealing away the storm. The desert was gone. The unknown had begun. When the stone door closed, the storm's howl vanished, leaving behind a heavy silence. Ryan pulled off his mask and took a careful breath. To his surprise, the air was warm and easy to breathe, unlike the dry desert outside. It carried a faint metallic taste, mixed with something sweet, like flowers long gone. His heart beat faster as he realized that this place had been built not only for survival but for comfort. The alien woman stood a few steps ahead, watching him closely. The dim light from the glowing runes along the walls reflected in her silver eyes, making them shine like liquid metal. She seemed calm, almost too calm, as though she had expected him to be here. Ryan wanted to speak, to ask who she was and why she had helped him, but his voice caught in his throat. For a long moment, they simply stared at each other. Finally, the woman turned, her movements graceful and deliberate, and began walking deeper into the corridor. She did not look back, but her voice reached him again, soft and certain. "Follow." Ryan hesitated only a moment before obeying. The stone beneath his boots was smooth, worn down by time, but the walls seemed untouched by decay. Strange symbols glowed faintly on either side, shifting in patterns like flowing water. They lit the path, guiding them into the heart of the structure. As they walked, Ryan studied her carefully. Her height was close to his, but her posture was taller, her presence commanding. Her skin seemed almost luminous, catching the glow of the runes as though she was part of this place. She wore no armor, no weapon, only a long robe of deep blue fabric that shimmered when she moved. Finally, Ryan found his voice. "Who are you?" he asked quietly. The woman stopped. She turned her head slightly, her silver eyes locking onto his again. There was a pause, as if she was choosing her words with care. Then she spoke, her voice carrying the same quiet strength as before. "Myra." The name was simple, but the way she said it gave it weight. Ryan repeated it softly under his breath, testing the sound. "Myra." He nodded once. "I'm Ryan." Her expression did not change, but for the briefest moment, he thought he saw a flicker of recognition or perhaps approval in her gaze. Without another word, she turned again and continued walking. The corridor opened into a vast chamber, and Ryan stopped in awe. The ceiling rose high above, disappearing into shadows. The walls were covered with glowing star maps, constellations shifting slowly as if alive. At the center of the chamber stood a circular platform surrounded by tall crystal pillars, each one humming faintly. The air here felt thicker, charged with invisible energy that raised the hairs on Ryan's arms. "This place," he whispered, his voice echoing. Myra stepped onto the platform and turned to face him. For the first time, her calm mask seemed to soften. She lifted her hand, and the crystals around her pulsed with light. The star maps on the walls changed, aligning into a single image, a galaxy, spinning slowly, filled with countless stars. Ryan felt his breath catch. He had seen star charts before, but this was different. It was more detailed, more alive, as if the galaxy itself was reaching out to him. Myra spoke again, her voice echoing gently through the chamber. "This world was not empty. My people lived here. Long ago." Her words were clear, yet each carried a sadness so deep it echoed beyond sound. Ryan watched her carefully, waiting for her to continue. Myra touched one of the crystal pillars, and new images appeared, strange cities that rose like towers of light, ships that glided across the stars, and people like her, their silver eyes shining with pride. The vision shifted quickly, showing destruction, flames tearing across cities, ships falling from the sky, and shadows of an enemy Ryan could not clearly see. Her voice grew softer. "They are gone. All gone." I remain. The images faded, leaving only the star map once more. Silence filled the chamber. Ryan swallowed hard, unsure what to say. He had not expected to find ruins here, let alone the last survivor of an entire race. For the first time, he truly understood the weight he had seen in her eyes when she looked at him. She was not simply watching him. She was searching for something, perhaps hope, perhaps reason. Myra stepped closer, her gaze never leaving his. "You came here," she said softly, almost like a question. "Why?" Ryan opened his mouth, but the answer was not simple. He wanted to survive, yes, but as he looked into her steady silver eyes, he realized there was more. Perhaps fate, perhaps chance, had brought him here, but it felt like something greater was at work. "I crashed," he admitted slowly. "I was looking for shelter. I didn't know this was here. I didn't know you were here." Myra studied him for a long moment, silent as the humming crystals filled the chamber with faint sound. Then she stepped even closer, her face only a breath away from his. Her whisper came again, softer than before, but carrying a weight that shook him more than the storm outside. "Not chance. Not accident. You are here, because it is time." Ryan felt a shiver run down his spine. Her words lingered in the air like a secret, and in that moment, he understood one thing clearly: his life had just changed forever. The words hung in the air like a shadow, "It is time." Ryan tried to ask what she meant, but Myra only turned and placed her hand against the glowing wall. The star map shifted again, the lights forming a path that led deeper into the structure. Without another word, she began to walk, her long robe trailing softly behind her. Ryan followed, his steps echoing in the vast chamber. His mind swirled with questions. Why had she been waiting? Why him? Why now? But every time he opened his mouth, he found himself silent. Something about her presence commanded patience. The path wound downwards into darker halls, where the glow of the runes was dim and flickering. The air grew cooler, heavier, carrying a faint hum that seemed to vibrate in his bones. The corridor opened at last into a hidden chamber, far larger than the others. Ryan stopped in awe. The chamber was filled with wonders. Towering machines stood like silent guardians, their surfaces covered with strange patterns of light. Long tables stretched across the floor, covered with tools and devices whose purposes he could not guess. In the center rose a crystal sphere taller than two men, floating gently above a circular platform. Inside the sphere, swirls of light shifted like clouds caught in a storm. Myra stepped toward it, her silver eyes reflecting the glow. "This," she said softly, "is the heart of my people. The memory of what was." She raised her hand, and the sphere pulsed. The room came alive. Machines flickered to life, their lights casting shadows on the walls. Holograms filled the air, images of tall cities, wide oceans, and skies filled with ships. Voices echoed faintly, words in a language Ryan could not understand, yet he felt their meaning in his chest. Ryan turned slowly, his eyes wide. This is history." Myra nodded once. "All that we were. All that we lost." The holograms changed. The bright cities burned. Ships fell from the sky, breaking apart in fire. A black wave of shadow moved across the land, devouring everything. Ryan's stomach tightened as he saw the destruction. The voices turned into cries, fading into silence. When the vision ended, the chamber grew still again. The sphere dimmed, returning to its quiet glow. Ryan looked at Myra. "What happened?" he asked softly. Her gaze lowered. For the first time, her calm expression cracked. He saw pain in her face, old and heavy. "An enemy came from beyond the stars. They destroyed without reason, without mercy. We were strong, but we were not strong enough. We were many, and now I am one." Her words struck him like a stone. He imagined standing as the last of humanity, carrying the weight of all who had come before. The thought made his chest ache. Myra turned to face him fully. I have waited here, guarding what remains. The storm outside hides this place, but storms do not last forever. The enemy will return. And when they do, they will not only find me. Her silver eyes glowed brighter. They will find you. They will find your people. Ryan's mouth went dry. He had not expected this. He had thought his crash was just a disaster, an accident to survive. But now it felt different, like he had walked into the center of a story much larger than himself. He forced his voice steady. Why tell me this? I'm just a technician. I'm not a leader, I'm not a soldier. Myra studied him for a long time. Then, slowly, she shook her head. It is not skill with weapons that decides the future. It is spirit. It is choice. My people had knowledge, but knowledge alone did not save us. You have something they did not. Ryan frowned. What? She stepped closer, her gaze unblinking. The will to endure. The strength to rise even when broken. I saw it in your eyes at the door. You do not know it yet, but it is there. Ryan's chest tightened. He wanted to argue, to deny her words, but deep down, he knew there was truth in them. Humanity had survived against odds many times before. Perhaps that was what she meant. Myra turned back to the great sphere. This chamber holds more than memory. It holds tools. Knowledge that can help you. But to claim it, you must prove you are ready. The floor shifted beneath them. Rings of light spread outward from the platform where the sphere floated. Machines awakened, their humming growing louder, filling the chamber with power. Ryan stepped back in alarm. What's happening? Myra's eyes did not leave the sphere. Her voice was calm, steady, but heavy with meaning. The trial begins. The walls around them shifted, forming new doors that had not been there before. Strange patterns appeared on the floor, glowing brighter with every passing moment. The hidden chamber no longer felt like a library or a sanctuary. It felt alive. Watching. Testing. Ryan clenched his fists, his pulse racing. Whatever waited for him next, it was clear this was no longer about survival from the storm. This was about something greater. And he was already part of it. Ryan stood frozen as rings of energy rippled across the floor, glowing brighter with each heartbeat. The machines that had slept for centuries now hummed like they had woken from a long dream. The air itself seemed alive, heavy with unseen power. Myra stood at the center of it all, calm as the storm outside. Her silver eyes reflected the shifting lights, unblinking. She raised her hand slowly, and the glow softened. The humming lessened until only a steady vibration filled the chamber, like the heartbeat of something ancient. Ryan let out the breath he had been holding. What is this place really? He asked. Myra turned to him, her face calm, her voice low but strong. This is the last sanctuary of my people. We built it as a shield, as a hope. But it became a tomb. I alone remain to guard what is left. Her words sank deep into Ryan's mind. He had seen the visions of her cities, her people, her fall. But to hear her speak so plainly, with such quiet sorrow, made it heavier. She stepped closer, her robe brushing softly against the smooth floor. Listen, Ryan. You must understand. The enemy that destroyed us, they are not gone. They will return. And when they do, they will find your kind. Humans. Ryan felt his chest tighten. How can you be sure? Myra's gaze hardened. Because they search. They spread across the stars like fire across dry grass. They do not stop. They will see your light, and they will come. The chamber seemed colder at her words. Ryan had faced danger before, storms, accidents, broken machines, but this was different. This was larger, darker. It was not about one man's survival. It was about humanity itself. He forced his voice steady. You said your people had knowledge, had power. And still you lost. How can we stop them if you could not? Myra was silent for a long moment. Her silver eyes lowered slightly, as if remembering old pain. Then she answered. We had strength, yes. We had weapons that could burn worlds, ships that could sail between suns. But we lacked something greater. We lacked unity. When the shadow came, we turned against each other. Some sought peace, some sought power. We argued while the enemy destroyed us. Her eyes rose to meet his again, sharp and bright. That is why you may succeed where we failed. You humans are different. You endure. You rise from ruin and fight again. You are not bound by perfection, you are bound by will. Ryan swallowed hard. He thought of Earth, of the endless stories of struggle and survival. Wars, disasters, hardships, yet always, somehow, his people found a way forward. Perhaps that was what she saw in him when their eyes first met. Still, doubt pressed on him. But I'm no leader, he said quietly. I'm not special. I was just trying to survive. Myra stepped closer until her presence filled his vision. Her voice softened, but it carried weight. You are alive when others are not. You walked into this place when others would have turned away. You listened when I spoke. These are not small things. Sometimes, it is the one who does not believe he is ready, who is most ready. Ryan felt a strange heat in his chest, a spark of something he could not name. Hope, perhaps. Or responsibility. Myra turned away, her gaze sweeping across the glowing machines. This sanctuary holds more than memory. It holds tools, knowledge, and power that can shield your kind from what comes. But to use them, you must be tested. The chamber itself will judge you. Ryan frowned. Judge me? How? Her silver eyes returned to him, steady and calm. By more than strength. By courage. By choice. My people built trials within this place. Not to test the body, but the spirit. For weapons in the wrong hands are more dangerous than the enemy itself. The floor trembled, and one of the hidden doors slid open, revealing a dark passage beyond. A soft blue glow pulsed within, waiting. Ryan stared at it, his heart beating faster. He had faced storms and broken machines, but this was something entirely different. Whatever lay beyond that door, it was built to test the very core of who he was. Myra stepped aside, leaving the path open. Her voice was quiet, but it carried like an echo through the chamber. Go. What you choose in there will shape not only your fate, but the fate of your people. Ryan's mouth was dry. He glanced at her once more. She did not move, did not pressure him. She simply watched, her eyes steady, as if she already knew what he would do. He took a deep breath, steadying his nerves. Every instinct told him to turn back, to refuse, to say this was too much for him. But something stronger pushed him forward, the thought of his people, of humanity's light spread across the stars, and of the shadow Myra had warned about. He stepped toward the doorway. The blue glow grew brighter, wrapping around him like mist. He looked back once. Myra was still there, her expression calm but her eyes sharp, as though she carried all of history's weight in her gaze. Then the door closed behind him, and he was alone. The trial had begun. The blue glow enveloped Ryan as he stepped into the passage. The air was cooler here, and it carried a faint hum, like whispers of 1,000 voices all speaking at once. His boots made soft echoes against the smooth floor, but the sounds felt strangely alive, as if the corridor itself was aware of his presence. The walls were lined with glowing symbols that shifted as he moved. At first, the pattern seemed random, but then he noticed something. They responded to his choices. When he stepped to the left, they pulsed one way, when he stepped to the right, they pulsed another. The walls themselves were a puzzle, testing him even before the real trial had begun. Ryan's mind raced. This isn't just a corridor. It's a challenge. He concentrated, moving carefully, trying to read the patterns. Step by step, he found a rhythm, letting instinct guide him. The symbols pulsed brighter as he moved correctly, dimming when he made mistakes. After what felt like hours but could have been minutes, the corridor opened into a wide chamber. The room was circular, filled with floating platforms that hovered in the air like stepping stones over a deep, dark void. Between the platforms, glowing energy crackled, bright and dangerous. Ryan looked down and shivered. One misstep, and he could fall into the abyss below. He spotted the first platform ahead. It floated steadily, but as he stepped onto it, it began to tilt. Ryan adjusted quickly, using his arms for balance. The next platform moved sideways, testing his agility. The third platform spun slowly, forcing him to jump at the perfect moment. This is not just about strength, Ryan realized. It's about focus, timing, and patience. As he moved from platform to platform, images appeared in the air. Holograms of cities, ships, and people flashed around him. Some were scenes of triumph, others of destruction. They didn't seem meant to scare him, but to remind him of the stakes. Every choice he made, every step he took, seemed to matter more than the last. Then came the first real test. A platform hovered far above the others, glowing brighter than the rest. Ryan knew he had to reach it. But between him and it was a shifting wall of energy, crackling and unpredictable. He took a deep breath and focused, timing his jumps carefully, watching the patterns of the energy. The wall surged, and he leaped, feeling the heat of the energy as it passed beneath him. He landed safely on the platform, his heart racing. A calm voice echoed in the chamber, soft but unmistakable, "Well done." Ryan froze. It was Myra's voice, though she was nowhere to be seen. "She's watching me." The platforms rearranged themselves, forming a new path forward. The energy crackled less fiercely now, as if acknowledging his skill. But Ryan knew the trials were only beginning. He had passed the first challenge of agility, but courage and choice would be tested next. The room shifted again. A new chamber opened ahead, dimly lit, with shadows stretching across the floor. In the center stood a figure tall, imposing, its features obscured by a glowing haze. It did not move, but Ryan felt its gaze like a weight pressing down on him. Ryan's pulse quickened. This is fear. This is the test of courage. He stepped forward, his boots echoing on the floor. The figure began to shift, forming multiple images around him. Each one whispered doubts in his mind: "You cannot succeed. You are too small. You will fail." Ryan shook his head, forcing himself to remember Myra's words. Willpower. Spirit. Choice. He took a deep breath and walked steadily toward the center, ignoring the whispers, ignoring the shadows. Step by step, he advanced, keeping his eyes fixed on the figure. When he reached the center, the illusions vanished. The figure bowed slightly, acknowledging his courage, and the chamber transformed again. This time, a platform rose from the floor, carrying a small glowing cube. Ryan approached it cautiously. The cube vibrated faintly in his hands, warm and alive. He felt energy flowing through him as he held it. Somehow, he knew it was not a weapon, but a key, one that would unlock further knowledge, further power. He glanced around the chamber, then spoke aloud, as if promising something: "I will use this to protect my people. Not to destroy, but to defend." The cube pulsed brightly, and the chamber seemed to sigh in relief. The trials had recognized his choice, his spirit, and his courage. Ryan felt exhaustion wash over him, but also a strange sense of strength. The passage behind him opened once more, leading onward to the heart of the sanctuary. Whatever lay ahead, he now understood one thing: the trial was not meant to break him. It was meant to prepare him. And now, he was ready. The passage ahead opened into a wide chamber, glowing softly with golden light. Ryan stepped forward cautiously, feeling the hum of energy vibrating under his boots. The air was warm and calm, yet it carried a weight, a presence that seemed to watch him with quiet patience. At the center of the room stood a large platform, circular and smooth, with a crystal pedestal rising from its middle. Atop the pedestal sat a sphere, glowing with shifting lights that seemed alive. Ryan recognized it instantly. It was different from the cubes and tests of the trial. This was the heart of the sanctuary, the source of power Myra had guarded for centuries. Myra appeared silently at his side. Her silver eyes reflected the light of the sphere. "This is the choice," she said. Her voice was calm, but it carried meaning heavier than words. The sphere can protect or destroy. It can shield your people from what is coming, or it can wipe out the threat completely, at a cost we may not foresee. Ryan stared at the glowing sphere. It radiated warmth, power, and knowledge, all at once. His mind raced. The enemy she had spoken of, those who destroyed her people, would come again. With this power, he could stop them. But he also understood Myra's warning: destruction was irreversible. "I don't understand," he said slowly. "What do you mean by cost?" Myra stepped closer, her hand hovering above the sphere. "Power is never without consequence. To wield it fully, one must be willing to bear responsibility. The wrong choice can bring ruin to those you protect." Ryan clenched his fists, thinking of his world, of Earth and its people. Humanity had faced disasters before, but now the stakes were higher than he could imagine. He could see a vision of Earth in flames, of colonies on distant planets in danger, all because the enemy would come for them. He thought of Myra, alone for centuries, guarding knowledge that had once been a civilization's greatest pride. And he thought of himself, just a human, small in the vast universe, yet standing at the center of something immense. "Then what should I do?" he asked. His voice trembled slightly. Myra looked at him, her expression calm but her eyes shining. "That is your choice. Not mine. The trials tested your courage, your spirit, your will. Now you decide whether to use this power to defend, to destroy, or to awaken it in another way. Only you can make the decision that shapes the future." Ryan approached the pedestal, his steps steady despite the weight pressing on him. He lifted the sphere gently. Its glow wrapped around his hands, filling him with warmth, light, and knowledge. He felt the history of Myra's people flow into him, their victories, their failures, their hopes, and their fears. The chamber seemed to respond to his thoughts, the lights shifting as if waiting for his decision. Ryan closed his eyes and focused, recalling everything he had seen: the ruins of Myra's civilization, the courage of the humans he loved, the endless struggles and triumphs of his species. A question formed in his mind: what does humanity need most? The answer came clearly. Humanity did not need power to destroy, not weapons of total annihilation. Humanity needed protection, the chance to survive, to fight back with wisdom and courage. That spark of unyielding will, the thing Myra had seen in him at the doorway, must be preserved. Ryan opened his eyes. He spoke aloud, firmly: "I will awaken the sphere to protect, not to destroy. I will shield my people, give them a chance to survive, and face the enemy with courage." The sphere pulsed brightly, sending waves of golden light across the chamber. Energy surged into the floor, through the walls, and into the hidden passages beyond. Machines stirred, lights flickered, and holograms of distant worlds appeared, showing humanity's colonies and settlements. A protective barrier formed around each one, shimmering faintly but strongly, visible only to those who could sense it. Myra stepped back, her silver eyes reflecting awe and relief. "You understand," she whispered. "The enemy may come, but humanity will endure. You have chosen wisely, and the sanctuary responds to your spirit. Ryan lowered the sphere slightly. His hands trembled, not from fear, but from the enormity of the responsibility he now carried. He realized that he had just shaped the future, not with weapons or fire, but with choice. The chamber seemed to sigh, the golden light softening. The trials, the warnings, and the tests had led to this moment. Myra's presence beside him felt lighter now, as if centuries of solitude had finally found relief. You have done more than survive, Myra said quietly. You have proven that will, spirit, and courage can be stronger than any weapon. Your people may yet face darkness, but they will face it with hope. And hope, Ryan, is what keeps civilizations alive. Ryan nodded, feeling the truth in her words. He looked at the glowing sphere once more, understanding fully that it was not power alone that mattered, it was the choice to use it wisely. Humanity had been given a shield, a chance to rise again, and he had been the one to make that decision. Outside the chamber, the wind of the desert still howled, but Ryan felt a calmness inside him. The trials were complete, the choice made, and the future of his people was brighter because of it. The stars outside the small ship sparkled like tiny diamonds scattered across the black velvet of space. Finn sat quietly in the pilot's seat, his hands resting on the controls. The repaired ship hummed gently beneath him, steady and strong after the work Nira's people had done. He felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. Soon, he would return to Earth. Soon, he would tell a story that no one would believe, at least, not yet. The small device Nira had given him rested on the dashboard. It glowed softly, filled with knowledge from many worlds, maps of distant places, and secrets of survival. But it was more than just a tool, it was a symbol of trust. Nira had trusted him, a simple human, with something important. That thought gave Finn a deep feeling of pride and responsibility. The ship's engines activated smoothly as Finn set the course for home. As the stars streaked by in long lines, his mind wandered back to the cave, the sanctuary where he had met Nira, where they had fought together, and where he had learned so much about himself and the universe. His thoughts were interrupted by a soft beep from the device. Finn picked it up and saw a message from Nira. It was simple, but powerful: remember who you are. Your strength comes from your heart. We are with you. Finn smiled. That message was a reminder of the promise between their two worlds. It was also a promise he planned to keep. Back on Earth, life was busy and loud. People rushed through their daily routines, unaware of the vast universe beyond their skies. But Finn's journey had changed him. He no longer saw the world the same way. He knew there were others out there, some friends, some enemies, and humanity had to be ready. The ship's computer began to track Earth's location. The blue planet grew larger in the viewport, its oceans shining like glass and its land masses stretching out beneath swirling clouds. Finn's heart quickened. Soon, he would be home. As the ship entered Earth's atmosphere, the familiar blue and green colors surrounded him. The air grew thick and warm. The ship landed gently in a quiet forest clearing, far from cities and crowds. Finn opened the door and stepped out, breathing deeply. The air smelled of pine and earth. The sun warmed his face. It was good to be back. In the days that followed, Finn shared his story with a few trusted friends, scientists and explorers who listened with wide eyes and open minds. Some were skeptical at first, but when Finn showed them the device and the knowledge it contained, they began to believe. Together, they studied the technology and learned from it. They worked to prepare Earth for the challenges ahead, using what Nira's people had taught Finn about defense and cooperation. The device became a symbol of hope, a reminder that humanity was not alone. Finn often thought about Nira and her people. He wondered how many other hidden worlds waited quietly, watching humanity grow. He knew the Vraks might return someday, but he was not afraid. He had seen the strength of humans and aliens working together. That strength was unstoppable. One evening, Finn stood outside looking at the stars. The sky was clear, the constellations familiar and comforting. He raised the device toward the heavens, feeling connected to something much larger. A quiet voice echoed in his mind, Nira's voice, full of warmth and promise. This is only the beginning. The story of Finn and Nira became a new chapter in human history, a chapter about courage, friendship, and hope. People everywhere began to look up at the night sky with new wonder, dreaming of the stars and the possibilities beyond. Finn knew that humanity's journey into the universe had just begun. There would be challenges and dangers, but also alliances and discoveries. And no matter what happened, the human spirit would shine bright like the stars above. With a final look at the sky, Finn smiled and whispered to himself, "We are ready."